back to another video. In today's video, I am going to be talking about all of the books that I read last month and shows and things that I watched. And also, just a little warning, if you hear a lot of honking, I'm sorry. I am in a closed room with closed window, but there is some construction going on near my apartment and it's causing a lot of traffic and people are just going crazy with the honking today. So if you hear a lot of honking today, I'm sorry. The first book that I read this month was The Outliers. I don't have the physical copy. I'm glad I didn't buy the physical copy. I read it on Scribd, which is an app that I use, which has a lot of audiobooks and also ebooks. Yes, so The Outliers was our chosen book for the Foggy Book Club, which is a book club that I host here on this channel. I talked a little bit more about this in the live stream that I did, but honestly, it just wasn't a very good book. Essentially, the story is that this girl has lost her mom. She has a lot of anxiety apparently and stuff. Her friend goes missing and she has to sort of figure out where she is for some reason. I don't particularly have a problem with YA books where kids are solving mysteries, because even though I know that would never happen in real life, but I don't mind it. It's fiction. It is important to have themes and things that you relate to, but changing things and making them less realistic is okay. As you probably can tell, I'm a huge fan of Harry Potter, and obviously that's not realistic. There are things there that are not real. But the thing is, you always have to back it up with logic. You have to explain why that thing that we would never believe to be real is real. How can it be real? How does it work? I think that's a really big part of fantasy and creating fiction, is that you have to make it believable. And obviously if you're just writing contemporary fiction where it's just fictional characters but it's all set in today's world with today's problems, sure, you don't have to think about that as much. But if you are creating something that's a bit more far-fetched, you have to back it up with logic. You can't just say, oh, this happened, and then when the people reading the book are like, yeah, but why? How? What made this happen? And you're like, it just happened. That's just how the story goes. That's it. And I feel like this book was a really good example of what not to do when writing fiction. You cannot just say things are going to happen and not give a reasonable, believable explanation. At the beginning, I wasn't very interested. I was like, okay. But I persevered. And I was slightly intrigued because I did not want to know what happened to her friend. But the thing is, they give you these little nuggets of information. You go backwards and forwards into the present and her past, which I know can be confusing for some people. I didn't find it too bad, but sometimes I was I'm not sure if we're back in the present or not. I didn't find that too bad. The issue that I had was with the logic of the book. The plot was not great, but it could have been a good book if they had supported the plot better with logic. I thought the characters I didn't really care about, especially the main character and the narrator. I really thought she was quite annoying. Honestly, the book stressed me out because I was like, this would never happen. I don't understand what's happening. And I felt like things were just more things that were not plausible were happening and we weren't getting any explanation of why or how or who or what. And then they did give you an explanation. It was eh. And it kind of felt like they were trying to do something really sci-fi, she has this superpower. But in reality, it's I don't know. It wasn't very good. I don't even know what to say else about it. I don't know if that was a good review or not, but whilst I was reading that, I also read this book. It's Descender Volume 1. I think this one's called 10 Stars. And this was something that I've seen so much on other people's, other booktubers, not that I am one, but booktubers talking about. And I totally get why. It's so good. It's a comic book. And the art style is really cool. It's kind of like watercolors. It takes place in the distant future, I think, where these giant robot things called harvesters destroy a bunch of planets and a bunch of people, and they kill a bunch of people. And 10 years later, this little android robot companion kid, he's a companion robot for children, and he wakes up to find that his family is gone and he's totally alone. and then they find out that his code is really, really similar, or like if not the exact same code, to the code of these giant robots that killed everybody. And there's just like a bunch of stuff that happens after that. I thought it was really good. Like, there were good plot twists. Not plot twists, but like revelations. Not revelations, that's the wrong word. Yeah, I guess revelations is the word. Things that were revealed to us is what I mean. The art style was great. I'm really into comic books right now, and I'm starting to like really get the hype because they're so easy to read, like quick, and they're just, I don't know, I just like them. I really enjoyed this. I definitely recommend if you're into sci-fi. I started reading The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. I got it out of the library, but I've read like, I don't know, 100 and something pages, and still nothing had happened. It's this little town where one of the mayors or people who's like in charge of the local government dies, and then like what happens after that, I guess. And honestly, he dies literally in the first chapter. Like, that's the first thing that happens pretty much. I was a good 100 pages in, and all that had happened so far was people telling each other that he had died, and then some relishing that fact, and some were really sad, and like a teeny tiny bit of backstory into each person. Oh, mail. I got some stuff in the post. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I'm sitting around all day waiting for something to come in the post, and as soon as I sit down to film, it comes in the post. I was talking about The Casual Vacancy. I just wasn't into it. I didn't have a lot of time left out of like my library borrowed time with that book, and I was just like, I don't want to finish it. It was really, really long. I wasn't into it. Maybe another time in the future I can pick it up again and try again, but like, yeah, I just DNF'd that. Then I read/listened to A Study in Charlotte. Also don't have this physical book. Really want to get the collection though, because they're really pretty and I'm really, really into the series, so I would like to have them so I can reread and etc. That book was so good. I listened to it mostly while I was going through a lot of migraines. I haven't had one in a few days, which is great, but a few days, maybe a week. Anyway, so when I was having a lot of them and I was spending a lot of time like resting, I find that I get really, really, really bored having migraines because it's freaking awful. And I am really, really light sensitive with migraines, but I am not super sound sensitive. I've discovered that putting on a audiobook that has a gentle voice, it depends on whose voice it is, but like so far I've nailed it. And I put it on like quite a low setting so that it's not too loud. And it helps me like relax. It helps me just like focus on something else and kind of not focus on the pain so much. So the idea of the series is that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were like real people that really lived in the past, and we are following their descendants, Charlotte Holmes and Jamie Watson, who are basically at school together, and they are framed. The first book, they I think are being framed for murder, and then they solve it. In the second book, it's something else. They're really, really good books. I'm really enjoying it. The second one I also read this month. I will get into it. It's a really good mixture, I think, of YA, which if you don't know is young adult. A good dose of mystery novel, detective work, which I so appreciate. I really love that kind of stuff. And then the whole like Sherlock and Watson dynamic, which I also really like. I found that there were a lot of like hints and nods at the original stories, but it was a story of its own. I don't know, it was just great. It's a great idea. I loved it. I also read, I haven't finished it yet. I'm like there, so I will finish it today probably. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I tend to go back to Harry Potter because it's something that I already know. It's something that I enjoy rereading. It's something that fills me with magic and just like I don't know, I love it. And I had been rereading the series earlier this year, but for some reason I never got around to reading this one, so I did it now and probably will start again soon. I don't know, I'm always kind of rereading the Harry Potter series. Like, next I read/listened to The Last of August, which is book number 2 in the Sherlock Holmes series. So I read the second one. Like I told you before, I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, just because the story felt a little bit less like well explained to me, or felt a little bit more forced. It shows us their families in a different light kind of thing. I didn't enjoy the adventure that they had as much as I enjoyed the first one. I still want to read the rest of the series and find out what happens. That's all the books that I read this month. Not a lot. Things that I watched and that I really enjoyed. Something called Rilakkuma Khalu, which is I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think I'm saying that right. But it's a series on Netflix. Khalu is this lady who owns, I guess, or lives with Rilakkuma and two other characters whose names I can never remember. It's like an animation series, but the animation is very kind of like stop motion-y, where everything is kind of made out of fabric and things, which I really enjoy the aesthetic of it. Every episode is like 12 minutes or something. I don't know how, but like Japanese anime and animation and stuff just has this way of interweaving like fantasy, sci-fi, magical things with like really mundane, everyday human problems and human like things. And it just like makes my heart so happy. I also watched on HBO Gentleman Jack. So good. Really enjoyed that. It's really good. It's about this lady called Anne Lister who really existed, and all of the series is based on her actual life and her diary entries, which she wrote in code so that people wouldn't know what she was writing about. And it took like a long time for them to decipher what the code was and to go through everything, because she wrote a lot and very thorough like explanations of the things that happened in her life. I also went to the cinema to see Rocket Man, which is the Elton John like musical movie. I thought it was going to be more like Bohemian Rhapsody from the trailer. I just got that idea, but it was like a musical also, because there were some scenes where songs were sort of enacted to explain parts of his life that were sort of like fast forwarded. But I did enjoy it. I know that other people are like, I enjoyed it. It was a good afternoon. I went with my mom. We both cried a little bit at, the story. Also, the outfits. Honestly, if I could wear all of that glitter, I would also wear all that glitter. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave it a like and a comment, and consider subscribing to my channel if you have not done that already. It would mean a lot to me. You can also consider becoming a member on Patreon, where you can vote for new videos, watch exclusive videos, and just generally watch my videos a day earlier than everybody else. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!